Welcome. In this video we're going to be looking at how you can make the buttercup square, and you can use different colours, same pattern, to make roses or a violet, and you can do lots of different things with it. It's the same pattern as in my penny bunting, and then I've got the buttercup here in my scrap yarn blanket, and I've got a rose, and I've used it for this purple one. So it's quite a versatile little square. So let's get on with it. For the pattern, I'm going to be making a buttercup. So I'll be using the buttermilk from the Style Craft Special DK range. And then I'm using pistachio and meadow for the two green colours. If you're making a rose, I've used toy and pale rose, again from the Style Craft Special DK range, and I've also made some with the vintage peach and toy. So to begin, we're going to make a double magic circle, and then we're going to be using puff stitches. So we're going to make 6 puff stitches with a chain 2 space between each puff stitch. Yeah. So to make my first one, I pull the first chain to the height of a US double, UK treble. I'm going to make 3 loop puff stitches, yeah? So we're going to yarn over, go in, pull through once, yarn over, go in, pull through twice, yarn over, go in, pull through 3 times. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops and chain 2. And that's our repeat. So we're going to make 5 more puff stitches with chain 2 spaces, and I'll see you at the end of the round. So I'm just making my last puff stitch and chain 2. Just going to count and check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to pull the circle tight. So we're going to pull the tail just a little bit to see which circle tightens first, and then we're going to pull on that circle. Then pull the tail. Yeah, take that out of the way, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first puff stitch. So that's the end of round 1. So for round 2, we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the next puff stitch. Chain 3, and slip stitch into the top of the next puff stitch. And we're going to go all the way around like so. So I'll see you at the end of the round. At the end of the round, if you're changing colour, you can just slip stitch into the top of the puff stitch, do a couple of chains, and then cut your yarn ready to change colour. If you're not changing colour, you want to fold that chain 3 space back, so that when you go into the puff stitch, we then come in between those 2 chain spaces and pull the yarn through and slip stitch. And that's so that we can now slip stitch into the chain 2 space and keep the chain 3 space tucked behind. Yeah. So if you've changed colour, you're going to slip knot and then slip stitch into the chain 2 space from round 1. Yeah. And we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to make a US single, UK double. Yeah, into that chain space, and then into the same chain space we're going to make 6 US doubles, UK trebles. After 6 US doubles, UK trebles, we're going to make another US single, UK double into that same chain space. So each petal has 8 stitches. It starts with a US single, UK double, 6 US doubles, UK trebles, and then we finish with a US single, UK double. And then we're going to go into the next chain 2 space, tuck the chain 3 space behind, and we repeat. So we make a US single, UK double, 6 US doubles, UK trebles, and then 1 US single, UK double. And we're going to do that into each chain 2 space to make 6 petals in total. And I'll see you at the end of the round. I'm just finishing my last petal. I'm just going to make the last US single, UK double in there. And then I'm just going to slip stitch into the first stitch we made. So going into the next petal. Yeah, and then just chain 2, or however you like to finish off. I'm going to then cut the yarn and pull that through, and then just push that chain down, and I'll weave that in later. So that's how the end of round 3 will look. To start round 4, we're going to make a slip knot with whichever green colour you're using. Yeah. And you want to make sure that you've got your right side of your flower facing you. Yeah. We're going to turn one of the petals down, and you've got that chain 3 space we made in round 2. So we're going to slip stitch, whoops, we're going to slip stitch into there and pull that tight. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to make a 2-stitch cluster, yeah, US doubles, UK trebles together. So we're just going to and chain 1, and we're going to repeat into that same 3-stitch chain, 3 chain space, yeah, a 2-stitch cluster with US doubles, UK trebles, and chain 1. And then we're going to repeat. So we're going to go into the next chain 3 space, and we're going to make a 2-stitch cluster, chain 1, 2-stitch cluster, chain 1, and we're going to go all the way around like that, so that at the end you will have 12 cluster stitches and 12 chain 1 spaces. So I'll see you at the end of the row, and end of the round, sorry. So I'm just making my last cluster, chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch into the first cluster that we made, and then slip stitch into the chain 1 space, and that's how it will look at the end of round 3. So those leaves are kind of hidden behind the flower. Round 5, we're going to chain 1 in that, we're in that chain 1 space, yeah, and we're going to make a US single, UK double. We're then going to chain 2, and we're going to skip this next cluster, and we're going to work in the next cluster, yeah, so we're going to go 2 clusters along, and we're going to make a 2-stitch cluster, we're going to chain 3, and then into the same cluster we're going to make another 2-stitch cluster, so that's our corner. Chain 2, you're going to miss the next chain space and work into the second chain space, making a US single, UK double, and that's our repeat to make each corner. Yeah, so we're going to chain 2, not the first cluster, but working into the second cluster, we make a 2-stitch cluster, chain 3, and then a 2-stitch cluster into that same cluster stitch from the last round. And we're going to go all the way around like so. And I'll see you at the end of the round. Remember that for the corners we're working in the stitch and for that US single, UK double, we're working in the chain space. Yeah, so we chain 2, skip a chain space and into the next one. And I'll see you at the end of the round. So I'm just at the end of the round. I'm going to make the last chain 2, and then we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch we made. Oops, snagged it as I pulled it through. Let's try that again. Yep. And we're going to change colour now. So we're going to chain 2, cut the yarn, and pull the hook out. And we're going to then push those chains down. For the last round, I'm using Meadow from the Stylecraft Special DK acrylic range. I've made a slip knot, and then we're going to attach to the corner with a slip stitch, pull the yarn tight. So we're going to make the corner first. We're going to chain 3. So that's the corner, but not the first stitch, yeah? And we're going to make 3 US doubles, UK trebles into that corner space. After 3 stitches, you're going to hop across to the chain 2 space and make 3 more stitches, US doubles, UK trebles. After 3 stitches, hop across to the next space and make 3 more stitches. After 3 stitches, we'll be at the next corner. We're going to make 3 stitches, chain 2, 3 stitches into that corner. Yeah, and that's our repeat all the way around. I'll see you back at the end so that we can finish up that last corner. So I'm just coming up to the end of the round. Yeah, and I'm back at that first corner. So we've still got those first 3 stitches to make. So 1, 2, you might like to count that original chain space as the first stitch, but I prefer to do 3 full stitches and then slip stitch into the chain space to finish. And there's your buttercup square. And remember, you can just change colours to give a rose or a violet. Yeah, and it's the same pattern whether for my hexagons or the bunting, it's all the same. And I'll see you in the next video.